What's up, my electricians? This is Ruben here, aka the Young Electrician. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the quickest way I know to move up in your company. If you've been working for your company for a while, or maybe you're headed into a new company and you'd like to be more than just a worker, you want to move up in your career, and you want some tips on how to do that as quickly as possible so you can start to advance, start to get pay increases, then watch this video. All right, so let's jump right into it. Tip number one in how to move up quickly in your company is you have to be more than just a good worker. I think a lot of people will have the mindset that I just need to go to work, I'll do a good job, and they'll notice me. But sadly, that's not always the case. A lot of guys get passed up, even though they might be better workers, more qualified for the position, yada, yada, yada. They get passed up because they are not intentional about their growth. They're doing basically the bare minimum to move up. Doing a good job is great, but in reality, everyone's supposed to do a good job. So if you're just a good worker, then they're going to keep you as just a worker most of the time. Sometimes they notice it, and it doesn't go completely unnoticed. If you are a good worker, if you show up on time, if you don't take a bunch of sick days and time off work, then a lot of times they will notice that, and they will advance you. But that's not always the case. So just know, if you're going to be intentional about moving up in your company, then you need to be more than just a good worker. You can't be less than a good worker, but you definitely have to be more than a good worker. Tip number two, you have to take full ownership of whatever scope of work you're doing. That means you have to treat it as though you were the boss, as though you were the one who is fully responsible for that task or that scope of work to be completed. Right now, your boss is the one who's responsible for it, and he's going to take extra caution planning out how you guys are going to do it, looking at the plans, making sure you guys are covering all aspects of it and completing all the tasks that's bringing the task to its completion. So you are going to need to start treating every project or every task like you owned it. That means you want to make sure that thing is finished in a timely manner and in the correct way, and you are going to start thinking ahead about your tasks. If you know you're going to be on a particular task for a while, then you want to pay attention to the type of material you're going to be using, the type of material you're going to be needing in the future, because you want to be a help to your boss. You're going to pay attention to how much material you have left, so that you don't run out of material. If you start running low on something, you are letting your boss know. A lot of times guys will come up at the end of the day and be like, oh, hey, by the way, we're out of this. And it's like, oh, well, that doesn't help. I could have ordered this if you'd have told me, a couple hours ago. So yeah, you are going to be watching the material as much as you're able to. You are going to be looking at the plans and getting a real good feel for the task at hand. You're going to be keeping a notebook with you and writing down whatever problems you run into, whatever materials you need, whatever information you think you're going to need to complete that task. You're going to write it down, and you're going to be treating that thing like it's a baby. You have to take full ownership of whatever scope of work you're doing, because in doing this, you are practicing for when you take on that responsibility. You're going to already know how to look at the plans and look ahead. You're already going to know how to keep an eye on the material and predict what type of material you're going to need. And it's all just you preparing for when you assume that role. If you want a particular job or you want a particular thing that you want to do in life, you need to start just doing it before anybody gives you the responsibility, so that when you get the responsibility, you move into that position more easily. But this will show your boss that you do take initiative, you do have comprehension when it comes to whatever the task may be. And yeah, it really shows initiative. So you have to take full ownership. So tip one, you need to be more than a good worker. Tip two, you need to take full responsibility of whatever scope of work you're doing. You need to treat it like you are the boss. Tip three, and this is one that I struggled with before, you actually need to spend time around your lead man or your boss during lunches and breaks, even after work. I mean, before work. Showing up a little early. Usually, your boss will probably have the gang boxes already open. If you have a good foreman, he'll have everything already open, and he'll be there early. And you should be there too. You should be there helping open the gang boxes, even after work, locking the gang boxes. You are treating the job site like it's your own. Like you care about all these things the way your boss does, or like you care about all these things like a boss does, I should say. Because you do want to spend time around your boss, because some people are good workers. If all they see is your work, then it's good. They're going to keep you on, but they don't have a feel for you. If they don't talk to you and they don't get to know you, they won't have a feel for you if you could actually lead a crew, if you actually have good comprehension, if you're actually good at clearly explaining things. They need to build that rapport with you. They need to build that confidence with you. So try to spend time not eating in your car. If all the guys hang out and eat together, then go and eat there. Spend time with them. Spend time with your lead man, your boss, so they can get to know you. They get a feel for you. I remember, I guess in my last company, a couple companies I've been to, I'd rather eat in my car. I'm not a people person. I especially don't want to sit down and eat with the boss. I'd rather just hang out alone, call my wife, watch a YouTube video. Not a people person. But I know that it is more beneficial for me to build that rapport with them, because I've been to companies where I just ate in my car and I didn't move up. And other guys that hung out with the boss, they moved up, even though they were not as probably as qualified as I was, but they were actually there. They showed up. They were intentional about trying to move up. And as they say in the movie Rudy, hard work beats talent when talent isn't working hard. So they were actually doing the things, building the rapport, and showing up. So I advise that you hang out, don't eat lunch by yourself, eat lunch with your crew, with your bosses, because you need to build that rapport. So tip number 4 is this one is great. This one is one that helped me move up in a couple of companies, and I learned this early on by just having a desire to want to move up and want to run some portion of the job. You have to find a gap in your company. You have to find a gap where you can see that nobody's either qualified for, as qualified as you are, or where nobody is assuming the responsibility. Well, it should be an area where no one's assuming the responsibility already. You don't want to try to take somebody's position. Or it's an area that's just a little too much. Maybe somebody's stretched thin and they're in 2 different areas, one of the lead men or maybe the foreman. I'll explain what I mean. If you come to a job site and you see that there's a bunch of conduit that needs to get bent and installed, and maybe nobody on the job site's good at bending conduit, or maybe nobody started bending the conduit, and you know how to bend conduit, then you get your boss up and say, hey, I know you guys got a bunch of conduit to bend here, just letting you know. I have been bending for a while and I'm able to do that. So if I can help lighten the load and just help out in that area, I'm good at looking at plans and following the plans and bending conduit and plotting routes. So just letting you know, I am pretty good at bending pipes. So if you need somebody in that area, I'm here if you need somebody. Or it's like, hey, what I did in the job that I'm at now, I actually did this at this company. In the beginning, it's a decent sized project, and we only had like maybe 3 workers there at the time in the beginning. So I told the foreman that I have experience in residential, and then if he needed any help upstairs in the residential area, that I'm familiar with running common areas or apartment units and just all the work up there. So if he needed any help in any of the residential areas, I could take over the units and help lighten his load there, or the common areas, or whatever scope of work that somebody didn't have that could lighten his load that I knew about. I told him I would step up and help him out in that area. And it started off with running the units. So I was running all the apartment units, and then it moved over to running the common areas. And then strangely, he's just been giving me more and more responsibility. And so that helps me because, one, that's either going to help me move up in this company and become a foreman in one of the next job sites, or two, it's going to allow me to gain more and more experience so that I could leave this company and go to another company, more qualified, more confident, more capable. So you always want to look for gaps to fill. That's the quickest way I know that somebody can move in a company. You find a gap to fill, and it's an area that you're familiar with, and then you just let your boss know. Say, hey, if this would help out, I can help lighten the load by helping out in this area, and I'll take full responsibility of it working under you, and if it help lighten your load. And usually the boss is looking for guys that are going to be lead men, so that shows confidence because you're approaching him, and you're letting him know what you're capable of doing, and you're offering to lighten his load. So you will be considered for whatever that position is if you do go up to your boss with confidence and you tell him or you ask him. So tip number one, you have to be more than a good worker. You have to be more than a good worker. Tip number two, you have to take full ownership of whatever scope of work you're doing. Tip number three, spend time with your bosses, your lead men, your foremen, even the crew, because you want to build rapport with them. You want them to know that you're not just a good worker, but you're also competent. And you're able to communicate, you understand the job site, you want to build that confidence with them. Tip number four, the master of all of the tips, look for a gap to fill. Look for a gap to fill, approach your boss, tell them you're willing and able to fill it if it'll lighten the load, and you will have a good chance of moving up very quickly in your company. Again, just know the difference between an opportunity and a promotion. So sometimes you get an opportunity to start running stuff, but the promotion to that actual position, financially, might come a little later as soon as they see that you're capable of doing it. So with that said, appreciate you guys watching this video. Go ahead and comment below and let me know what you guys think about these tips. Have you guys used any of these in the past? Is this anything that you guys have realized on your own in your own journey? And let me know if you've used any of these tips in the past and how that's helped out, or comment below and let me know what are your tips. What are your tips for moving up quickly in a company, so other people could see that, read it, I could see it, read it, and we all can learn and grow together. So comment that below, and until next time, like and subscribe. Peace.